had never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? I hope you're doing very, very, very well. Let me just move a couple of things that I've sucked in late into the show so that I can hopefully show them to you in the extremely near future. I want that one to be there. I want that one to be there. And I'm pretty sure that one will do all right there. Okay, I'm with you. How are you? Sorry about last night. Had other things conflicting, unfortunately. Came in late in the afternoon and could not be here. So do apologise. But I do trust you had a nice weekend, and it was pretty good weather-wise. Got to say, yesterday was a little shitty, I think, in southeast Queensland. But aside from that, not too bad everywhere else. I think I saw the top about 23 degrees here today, not a cloud in the sky until later this afternoon. Sandy first in the house tonight. God love you, woman. I'm pleased to hear you in the house and doing well. Hope you're all safe, including me. Well, that's even better. Thank you very much. Oops, that camera's all skew with. Put it down a bit. So thank you, darling. I hope you and the donkeys and Baz and, of course, the other volunteers that you have, we never mention them, but you do have a bunch of volunteers who work with you. So cheerio, shout out to them. Great job that they do. And you must have, I did see it. I'm just trying to re-image the wall I saw it on. But you must have another day coming up shortly with for teeth and toes, so to speak, where all hands will be on deck. So good luck for that. Connie, lovely to have you and the pipe bender in the house. Sorry, not pipe bender, pipe master in the house. Trust you are well. Our mutual friend with the oxygen tent could probably benefit with a phone call just between you, me, and the gatepost. Speaking in code now, do apologise. But Connie will know what I'm talking about. Alan may have no idea, but Connie will certainly know. Ali, nice to have you back in the house tonight. Looking forward to the show, as we all are. Got a bit in to fit in tonight, so I'll get the hellos out of the way. Andrew, the dog whisperer from Lightning Ridge. Trust you're doing all right, mate. Don't know if you've sold any of the dogs yet. You might wind up with quite a family living around Lightning Ridge with them, but I hope that that's not the case. And if anybody is interested in a new pup for your family, then by all means reach out through me and I'll put you in touch with Andrew. That's easily done. The lovely Aussie Sue in the house, as always, pretty early. God love you, woman. I hope you've had a great weekend over on the island. And yes, please like and subscribe, folks. It's very important for our algorithm that you give us a thumbs up if you can. If you can subscribe, even better. Even better. And if you want to become a member of the channel, as well, so many of you are, love to have you as part of that too. And we're going to try and figure out some special members benefits shortly. I'm not quite sure which way that'll go, but there will be members benefits. Tony is in the house along with Gail. And what the? If we're all safe, Carl wouldn't have a show. Well, I guess you're right about that. I can still talk about nothing for a great deal of time, mate. Don't you worry about that. I've got to remove a few of these things, otherwise I'll get all caught up. You find finds the census paper impractical for wiping the posterior. Well, I would think so, because you'd be putting shit on your screen, wouldn't you? Or you actually got the paper version that turned up at your place. It is, of course, census night tonight. I'm not sure whether or not you'll be doing it, whether or not you have done it, or whether or not you contemplating it and might wait for the first letter of reminder. What I can share with you, interestingly, now that we're talking about it, is I brought it up to show you what the page would actually be like. So if you go online, you can see I haven't begun this yet, and I was stonkered right from the first get-go because it says census number. I don't have a census number. But if you keep reading, it says don't have a census number, get a census number. So they've taken out a few of the loopholes, and you'll notice that I haven't got a census number yet. But, I wouldn't ever tell you that you shouldn't do the census. That's not something that we do here. Decisions are made by adults, and consequences come from decisions. So if you're prepared to and fully understand those decisions, then the consequences will be obviously well thought out by you. But if you're going to do it sitting there tonight, I think they would prefer that you did it now. I think at 6 p.m. or something like that. However, it's whoever's under your roof tonight, and it'll be me and two dogs. I'm not sure what they count, much less what their religion is. Food, I think, is their religion. That would be the easiest way of describing the dogs, I think. At any rate, good luck to you if you're going to go off and do the census. Lady Ryder Rose, nice to have you back in. I haven't seen your name for a little while. I trust you are doing well. Daniel, trust you're warm in Canberra. Scotty the News, hope you're doing all right, brother. Rob, g'day, mate. Trust you are well. Hip hip hooray, it's Tuesday. Bloody oath, mate. And I see that you're still out in Boona. $185 a week, all power on your site, water, all that sort of stuff. Not a bad sort of a deal for people looking for somewhere to camp up. G'day, Pete. I hope you are doing well in Pinnaru. We had a conversation from the paddock the other day as Pete was racing around chasing a bull. That was because the bull was racing around chasing some cows. Unfortunately, they weren't Pete's cows, though it was chasing, which gets a bit stressful on the fences, if you know what I'm saying. WA, Paul, how are you, buddy? Trust you are going well. Got your message the other day. Thank you very much. Silver, you are right. What the? Silver is 100% heading in the upwards direction. Let me show you just how much. So here's the Ainsley Bullion site, ainsleyBullion.com.au. Silver spot sitting at $91.77. That's dropped down a little bit late this afternoon, but American trading still to open up. I think it was up 12% today. It's gone up $13 in the last week and a half. That's $13 an ounce. So keep an eye on that. And as I would always say to you, buy in the downturn. Buy when it's cheap. It's never going. I don't think it's going back to $40 an ounce again. I couldn't see that. So this is the cheap period to buy because it will kick again. That is a promise. I just can't tell you when it's going to kick again, but I don't know. People who are better geared up with knowledge in that area say sooner rather than later. Something else that came out of Ainsley today, which I don't know that I can speak on greatly, and I'm not going to throw it on Vince to try and speak with, is news out of Thailand about capital gains tax. So Thailand have waived capital gains on crypto trades through licensed platforms in Thailand. Now, this has a number of, key benefits, I guess, if you are going to be investing through certain portals, although Vince is shaking his head rather badly. The Ainsley Bullion or the Ainsley Crypto article on it is available on their website under news and resources. If you're into the crypto game, I would suggest you are checking that out, why Thailand is doing it, how it compares with Australia. There are no equivalent laws here, but I'm sure, well, it says here that the Australian government checks with all the crypto providers anyway, so they're going to know what's been transferred where, when, why, and whatnot. So, but if you're into the crypto world, that might be another reason to go and visit ainsleyBullion.com.au. And if you are going to go and buy anything from there, then I would suggest with the greatest of humility to mention my name or the Voice of Freedom, and you will get a bit of a discount. Now, if you're buying a lot, you'll get a good discount. Well, that, I mean, a little bit adds up over a lot. If you're buying a little, well, it's only a little discount. But I defy you to find anybody else who's going to give you a discount to buy precious metals at the moment. So ainsleyBullion.com.au, always a good place to get your silver, your gold, your platinum and other precious metals that are floating around. All righty then. Shall we get into the show? Because I do have a bit to get through tonight. 107, I didn't mention, 107 will be on a little later on. So that's something to look forward to. Now, there have been some concerning things that have happened. My Lord, something very strange has just happened to my screen. Things have gone in a weird direction. I wasn't expecting. Let's do this. There has been some concerning news over the weekend about two of Australia's internet cables. Now, two internet cables coming out of Western Australia, and they go through a certain specific submarine zone that is protected. It goes out to about 60 kilometres off City Beach in Perth and is protected for a kilometre on each side of it, down to a level of 2,000 feet. On the weekend, there were two faults on the cables within a very limited time frame. They were essentially cut. Now, whether or not they were completely severed or not hasn't been made completely clear. But the company that owns the joint, Subco, have had a little bit to say about it all and have got the federal police involved. But it's what the defence experts are warning that is, probably the interesting thing. There was a very suspicious vessel lurking around that area within that protected zone, if you like, the submarine protected zone. And clearly the faults happened in and around the time that this sort of happened. So, yeah, Swordfish, Gomez, I think you might be right. There's other concerning quotes. This from a David Brewster, a doctor, senior research fellow at the National Security College at the ANU. He told Perth Radio that the international cables that link Australia to the world are vital. We only have 16 subsea cables, and they carry 99% of our international communications. It's really fundamental to the Australian economy and our daily life. And if they were to be disrupted or to cease completely, it would have a massive impact on our country. We don't realise that just about every app, every cloud-based application, every Google search, etc., depends on international communication in one way or another. And more cables you have, the less vulnerable you are. And Australia certainly needs a lot more cables than it currently has to mitigate that threat. What would it be like, do you think, to go without internet? I mean, you'd probably get used to not having Facebook for a day, after a day or two, or Instagram or Twitter or whatever else is on your phone. But it's everything else you might use, from the GPS system that you use to find new places you've got to go to that day. I mean, we'll be back to the old Melways, Brisways, Sidways, Edelways. Was it called Edelways? I don't know. There was another maker of those books at the time, Gregory's. They put the Gregory's maps out too. They were pretty good. Could we go back to paper? We might have to, because if there is a way to cut off our internet and international communications, what are we going to be left with inside Australia? Will our banking system still work? And by that, will I mean the ATM still dispense cash? Will the banks even be open? Because a lot of what they do is international bank trade. What the smoke signals are going to make a comeback? Yeah, you could be right, brother, in more ways than one. Smoke signals for sure. But it is a concerning thing, and no doubt our security agencies will be all over it. Swordfish was mentioned there earlier. We have been in development of a submarine program of our own, which is an autonomous, unmanned submarine that is capable of doing all sorts of things, including protecting those cables to a certain extent. The problem with any submarine of any size, when you have a cable that is 2,000 to 5,000 to 8,000 feet down, and it's going across an ocean floor to wherever, you need to find the deepest point that a submersible, currently known submersible, can get to that might be able to cut that cable. And you need to be able to protect those points. But then while you have one sub at, 3,000 feet down waiting to find something to cut that cable, what about the 3,000 feet above it? How do you protect that as well? So it's a long distance to make sure you are able to keep this protected. But these Australian subs could be, autonomous as they are, could be a way, put them on a figure eight pattern and have radars set up in them, sonar set up in them, so that they pick up on anything that comes within their area of regard. Now, that would be a great use for Australian technology, wouldn't it? How many jobs could we create there? Oh, they'd probably hand it out to AI, because it seems to be the way of everything else. The only way that's going to stop is if we get more kids, and more kids is, well, not the only way, but one of the better ways that we can help this nation going forward. And right now, it needs all the help it can get. Some new figures have just been released, and this indicates that the Australian fertility rate has fallen to below 1.4 births per female. Now, I'm imagining these are the ones that identify as female, rather than, and who actually were born with the parts to have the baby, rather than the ones that now identify as female and don't have any of the parts to have a baby, nor did they ever have those parts to have a baby, unless you are counting the man parts that they started out with. At any rate, the fertility rate is going through the floor. So all I can do, folks, is, and I know we're probably not of an age where climbing into bed and making babies is exactly what's on our mind. In fact, if we're going to climb into bed, it's probably to sleep, or if you have a partner in there, it's to rub something on their aging joints so that they're able to sleep a little later that night. At least that's the way I'm told it's happening. I have no personal experience in that regard. But more kids is definitely what Australia needs. And I know, speaking from just experience with my daughter, but I've heard so many others. Sandy identifies as a donkey. Is that for the census? Or for going to bed? I'm not. No, let's not go there. All right. So, geez, that nearly threw me. More kids. You and I aren't going to have any more, probably, but we could encourage those younger in the family to please think about it. Oh, yes, the world is awful. Oh, yes, it's a terrible place. Oh, yes, jobs are going out the door. They don't want us to breed. They don't want us, particularly white people, to have white babies. They're quite happy for you to go out and mix and have brown babies. They're very happy to have that happen, because as we explained in that immigration map that I showed you the other day, the plan will be by 2050, Australia will no longer be white as a dominant form of the population. In fact, I'm thinking we're pretty close to it now. So I know it's a difficult conversation to have. My daughter flat out says, why would I bring a child into this world? Look at what these idiots have done to it. And I kind of agree, but it doesn't solve our problem. She has other problems to solve before she can have a baby, and that would require somebody else being involved, and I don't think there's much interest there at the moment. So anyway, we push on regardless. Speaking of pushing on, so does Labor. They like giving away your money. $15 million this time to fight HIV in Fiji. My God. Let's hope that the Fijian population isn't in crisis, because, well, it could be. $15 million to fight the HIV crisis. Now, forgive me, I'm almost 100% sure that HIV now is a very, very controllable disease. Now, we had the Grim Reaper program, which was an advertising series that was put out in the 80s. You can see those ads on YouTube if you want to type them in, Grim Reaper AIDS commercials of the 80s. And they were designed to scare the living bejesus out of you. And I've got to say, from a teenager who grew up in the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s, through the 80s and 90s, it was a message that really sunk in. And that was to wear a condom. One of the most effective commercials of the time, I felt, was they made it twice, one with a man, one with a woman, laying down on a double bed, ostensibly naked. And cuddling. And that double bed was made out of syringes. And the line from memory was along the lines of, just remember that when you sleep with one person, you're sleeping with everyone they have slept with. And that was a nice way of getting across that, wrap it or potentially pick up a disease that in those days would kill you. Now, there was a drug, I want to call it AZT for some reason, that came out, and that was a very early development in the AIDS program, which did manage to control some of the symptoms, certainly managed to stretch out the lifespan of someone who was HIV positive. And I think now it's controlled with a pill. It's as simple as controlling it with a pill, and your life goes on regardless, and you've got normal existence. HIV was also manufactured, and funnily enough, there is a very familiar name in one of the doctors who was involved in the research of that. His name was Fauci. Just saying. Interesting things. Anyway, $15 million to help Fijians understand they should wrap their things in a coconut before they go putting their things where, well, coconuts ordinarily don't live, I guess. South Korea have had an interesting wake-up call. 620% higher risk of myocarditis after mRNA COVID vaccines. This is a peer-reviewed study of 9.2 million South Koreans who underwent the coerced vaccination during the COVID period. And it wasn't just 620% increases in myocarditis. It was 175% higher risk of pericarditis, 62% higher risk of Guillain-Barré syndrome, and on the autoimmune front, 16% increases in the risk of lupus, 58% higher risk of bulbous something or other, that's a large fluid-filled blister, 12% rise in alopecia, 14% in rheumatoid arthritis, and 16% for psoriasis. The raw percentage jumps in heart inflammation, GBS, lupus, and related conditions remain stunning and stark. So the people of North Korea are beginning to wake up. Let's hope that with numbers like that available in South Korea, there will be other Western and semi-Western nations who will have these similar sorts of numbers, who aren't as restricted, if you like, as maybe Australia is, because you and I are unlikely to ever see the true figures in this country because they don't want us to see them. Why? Because, well, they would probably go to jail for what they've done. We live in hope that they still will. I get the idea that most of them are going to live out their life off the money that they made and have very little consequence other than being shamed in public by the likes of you and I going forward. There's been some advances in the US overnight. And when I say advances, this is significant. The vote to invoke voter ID went through 52 to 46. The 46 votes were all Democrats. Every Democrat on the Senate floor in America voted against photo ID to vote in the upcoming midterm elections. Thankfully, there were 52 yays, so it looks like that passed. Will remain to be seen whether or not it is actually required by the time the midterm elections come around. In fact, will the midterm elections come around? And if they do come around, could we see the launch of a new party in America? One that could show Tucker Carlson at the top running for president. Now, he's been having meetings recently with a lot of highfalutin ex-Republicans, I guess, or ex-Trump supporters. They're still Republicans. Those meetings have proven to be beneficial on a number of levels, including fundraising, from what I hear. Now, Tucker's idea, or Tucker, from what I'm told, is not overly fussed about the idea of running for any kind of seat, much less the presidency. However, he does see that there seems to be a great deal lacking in not just previous administrations, but he had a beautiful way of describing Donald Trump as somebody flamboyantly corrupt. And if it took Tucker Carlson to get the popular vote behind him and many other of the non-Trump Republicans who have since lost their interest in supporting Trump, given that he's been so erratic at various different times, this could be a serious player in, well, not so much the midterms, I don't think, but certainly in the 2028 election campaign. Tucker Carlson for president, not off the cards. What would they be talking about? What would be a good policy? Well, getting rid of the flock cameras might be a bloody good start. Questions are starting to be asked about the flock cameras, which are rolled out in America to the tune of somewhere around 8,000 of them, spread through different counties, different municipalities, different, private homes and businesses, all of them providing information to the cloud that is accessible to anybody with permission and who pays the access fee. Now, those people with permission and who can afford the access fee are law enforcement agencies for the most part. Now, today there has been yet another, or overnight, there has been yet another incident, and so far there has been more than a dozen of these in America, where people have been pulled over in what you would call dramatic circumstances. Think of the Special Operations Group or whatever the top line police force in your town or area is, coming in their Bearcat and associated other bits and pieces and rolling you to a stop in a freeway or on a highway or in a street somewhere. Well, that's exactly what's happened to a number of people who have driven past flock cameras and been incorrectly identified inside the database as a person of interest with a warrant or this or that or the other. Now, the most recent one, I think, happened in Florida in the last 24 hours or so. And the person who was pulled over created such a scene that the freeway was shut for 5 hours about the whole thing. So there was also some very interesting news about the ownership of flock cameras that's been bought out. The flock camera investor is funded by an Israeli spy company, Toka. Toka can hack and alter live and recorded flock video. I don't know how you can hack live video and change it at all. That would be difficult because once you hack into it and add or remove something from it, you would have to add something to it so that you create a delay. Therefore, it's not really live, it's delayed live. And then, yes, you could probably insert things in that regard. In fact, just between you, me, and the Gatepost, I did all the voiceovers for the Australian Film Industry Awards a few years ago, and that's exactly how we did it, as live. We started the show, I think, about 6:30 at night, but it didn't go out on TV until about 8:30 that night. So that can be done. Toka can hack and alter live. Yes, you can get arrested because Israel can frame you for a crime you didn't commit. Well, that's possible. Lead investor behind Flock Camera Technologies caught funding a firm that is able to locate, hack, and alter both live and archive security camera footage without a detectable trace. Anderson Horowitz led Flock Safety's major rounds, including $275 million Series F in 2025 and a $7.5 billion valuation. The same firm also invested in Toka, whose tech, Haaretz, reportedly can locate, access, and alter live or archived camera feeds without detectable traces. Toka was co-founded by former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and former Israeli Defense Forces cyber chief Yaron Rosen. If the flock has the same investor, get the cameras out. So there is a lot of pushback at the moment in America. people being pulled over because the details in the flock system are incorrect. Maybe it was a car that was previously owned by somebody who might have been wanted, or that registration may have been on a wanted person's car, but now it's on a different person's car because the wanted person isn't in the car or doesn't have the car anymore. I don't know, all kind of weird things happening, but Americans are starting to push back. But I have a safety warning, and I feel it's incumbent upon me to provide this at this time. Right. I'm glad you've got that safety warning. It's a very serious safety warning. The government has a bit of a problem, folks. And I don't know if you've noticed it, but there are 64 thumbs up for the government warns mass bird flu deaths are just the beginning. There is 1.4 thousand people laughing at this being put out by the government. The best way to fight these bastards is by laughing at the bullshit they send out. Laugh at them. Do not agree with them. Do not support them. Do not give them air to friggin' breathe. There are some interesting things happening in India at the moment, both with Australian universities who are opening up and trying to create a new business for themselves over there as well. I think that will just be to fast track them to come to finishing school on the Gold Coast, but that could be a whole other ball game. Although I was reading an email the other day from someone who's just travelled recently over from Tasmania and was sitting at an airport or just outside an airport service centre at a very busy part of Melbourne, and just noticed that there weren't too many Aussies walking in and out of that service centre, putting it that way. But out that way, there is a lot of new Australians who are living out there. We might see a few of the Christian Indians heading our way shortly, because India is threatening to take Christian churches to the cleaners. What they're saying they will do under certain circumstances, which have not really been made completely clear, is that any church asset could be forfeit to the government on the government's say-so. Anything. So it could be the ground that the church is on. It could be the artifacts or the bits and pieces that are inside the church, you know, the chalices and the candlestick holders and all that sort of stuff, which are probably quite ornate and probably worth something. However, watch this space, because I believe there is some pushing back in that regard, and let's hope that is the case. 4 African blokes have been charged with murdering a 21-year-old fella at an Airbnb fight that happened a couple of weeks ago. Now, the very sad part about this is that while all 4 of these young men are African, they are all teenagers. And for whatever reason, they've come to this country and abused the privileges that have been afforded to them. They've decided to go down a certain path, and that resulted in the death of a young man. We won't go into the circumstances of the death because, I guess you can imagine what will have happened. However, those 4 blokes were found pretty smartly. So kudos to the police, who actually appear to be going out and tracking down some of the criminals that are in our midst. The Canadians would be hoping for a bit of that chutzpah from their police. Crimes by Indian students in Canada. Yeah, Sunflower, I'm with you. I'm with you. Crimes by Indian students are up 8,800% in Canada. There is a gang, a Chinese gang, that is very well coordinated and is working its way through Canadian cities. Crimes committed against Indian students and also by Indian students. That figure, up 8,800%, is from 2026, so it's a 10-year figure, but it's still extremely high. Now, Bishnoi is the name of the gang. And they have used, it's been reported and noted by the government, a demonstrated use of Canada's immigration programs for criminal purposes. Now, we have spoken about this before with regards to Australia and international truck drivers who come over here, are given a crash course in driving a B-double or even a big multi-rig, if you like, a road train. And when I say a crash course, I sadly mean it probably does turn out to be a crash course at some point. These fellas who rack up fines, maybe on a trip from Sydney to Perth or from Melbourne to Cairns, rack up fines in the tens to, well, now I guess it's multiple tens of thousands of dollars, because they've doubled the fines for not having connected and dead straight lines in your logbook. If you've misspelled the town or city or the area name where you pulled over for your rest break, if you misspelled that, that's now a fine worth, I think, $26,000, according to the National Heavy Vehicle Mob. These guys, if they incur a fine like that, you know, they don't have a full break, they jigger a logbook or whatever and get caught doing it. They just get to the other end, tell their boss they've racked up X amount of fines. They're on the next plane back to India. They don't have to pay the fine. The company just says, oh, look, the bastard ran out on us. We'd have given him to you, no worries at all. So he's then banned, put on a, do not fly list back into Australia, or if you do, be prepared, you're going to get hit with a lot of fines. Now, I don't know how that helps Australians. What happens if that same bloke kills a busload of people going out for a Christian weekend away because he's been driving for too long, hasn't bothered filling out his logbook correctly? What happens then? I can tell you, I know, because I lost 4 very good friends and one of their daughters in a car accident some years ago to a couple of international boys who were driving from Adelaide to Melbourne. And on the road that night, there was talk on the truckies, two-way radios, about some fools travelling towards Melbourne who were slaloming in and out through the road, through the white lines on the road. And that's exactly what happened. They slalomed in behind a car-carrying truck, not realising that my friends were travelling in a car that was following that truck. They clipped the back of the truck, the car carrier, and that spun them around and they started to roll, at which point they ran into my friends, killing 4 girls and one very little girl, 8-year-old, instantly. They, the 2 of them, got out alive. Not only did they get out alive, the guy who was sitting in the passenger seat was seen by the truck drivers pulling the guy who was in the driver's seat out of the driver's seat and putting him in the passenger seat. Fast forward, after the saddest funeral events I've ever been to in my life, to a coronial inquest, and those 2 students were nowhere to be seen. Not in the country, gone home. So nothing happened. No closure, nothing for the family. Certainly no repercussions or consequences in this life, at least, for those responsible for it. Just shit, really. Just shit. And you would expect our governments to do more about that, but of course they don't. They have other priorities, like this. Doesn't that show you priorities, folks? A speed camera set up where the pothole that looks to be 8 to 10 inches deep, something that would tear the front suspension and probably the front splitter off your car if you were driving a little 4-cylinder thing. But no, they're going to fine you for driving through there. On the off chance you would be stupid enough to be going fast enough to not be able to avoid that pothole should it just come up on you. Absolutely friggin' staggering. All right. Now, I was going to do a couple of other things, but I won't. I'll get into 107 first up. Now, Juan's not joining us live, so don't get too carried away. In fact, we have been putting in requests to have a chat with Juan now for a little while. He is in and around this area, and when I say this area, I'm sort of talking the southern hemisphere. He could be anywhere between South Africa, Thailand, Qatar, and Sydney, for all I know. He has said he is coming to Australia, and I'm hoping that he'll make good on his statement that he will be catching up with us while here. Becky O from Truth Seeker TV and I have a bit of a plan. And if you have a hot rod of any shape, kind, or form, particularly an Australian muscle car, reach out, because one wants to travel in an Australian muscle car if possible, and he might be staying a little while. We might be able to put him in a few of them, depending on what you've got in your garage. I'm afraid my old LC Tirana with the 149 engine in it and the bonnet scoop that didn't have a hole in the bonnet underneath it, that's unavailable. But anyway, Juan was appearing on another program, and I thought what he had to say was pretty interesting. He speaks about Nasara Jassara and a lot of the things that have been put forward about Nasara Jassara. He speaks about at various different times, and we'll play half a dozen different pieces for you here. It's probably best I don't explain it all. I just let him talk about it. So first of all, what are his thoughts on Nasara Jassara and how it's been put forward?
The players that have the whole Nasara, Zimbond, dinar thing in their sites are saying that by international law, these promises made by treasonous traitors within the intelligence system, primarily in the U.S. case CIA, in collusion with other intelligence agencies, did these deals into Iraq and other countries. And at the time they did it, they promised that they were going to pay back, according to certain rules, all of those monies.
Right. So what is he saying there? We've all been told that Nasara Jassara comes, there'll be a great abundance of, well, a great abundance. Many people have interpreted that as cash coming their way. There have been great stories about every cent you've ever paid in tax will be returned to you, and other stories of similar ilk. Is one saying that that might have been just a story?
It was done through fraud against the American people, and it was done based on somebody else's rules within the international reserve currency systems. Does that obligate the Treasury? Does it obligate the U.S. to those frauds? No. In fact, let them pay it all off. What they've done is they've put in place, beyond even the dinar and everything else, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that are already printed, that are valid Federal Reserve notes, that actually have numbers that are ready to go, what we call on ledger. In other words, within the internationally recorded paper currency in circulation around the world. So they have a system ready to go with money pre-printed, which was intended to flood countries around the world. Remember, the dollar is traded all over the world, even to the exclusion of the local currencies as being good as gold.
Okay, so I understand the logic there. Everybody has been underpinning their thoughts on this miraculous financial influx, if you like, with the current system supposedly in mind, saying that that's going to happen. I kind of understand that. But he adds to it, and the fraud, as he calls it, appears to be a bit deeper.
The Federal Reserve and the International Reserve System, trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars were printed pallets and pallets. You have no idea. A pallet has 100 million on it. They have half pallets and stuff like that, but a full pallet's $100 million. So 10 pallets is $1 billion. Okay, they have trillions and trillions and trillions printed and sitting in countries all over the world, that the plan was to flood the markets all over the world with those dollars, break the confidence in the dollar with that, not through the banks, but on the black market where nobody wanted a dollar.
Okay, so digital currency was, according to one, something of a beard for other things going on behind it. But which was created first? I mean, was digital currency created because of the attack?
And then to force the world, because of this attack, counterfeiting, which wasn't counterfeit, the world's going to have to go to a digital currency, starting with the U.S. And they had a plan to go to a digital currency and to throttle that coming in.
All right. That I understand. A lot of the plans that we've been told involve a great deal of money coming in. In fact, QSI talks about the revaluation and how there will be I've forgotten the word now, money put into those digital accounts. There's a word for it, I can't remember. That is a sway to get us to digital currency. So is digital currency the trap, or is, we were going to be trillionaires, and I've got a trillion Zim note. There are many of you that have probably got a trillion Zim note, and we were all told the only way we would ever be able to cash something like that in was to come up with a charitable idea, something that would help vast amounts of people. And many people, including myself, have put up many hours into putting a plan together that, should this ever come off one day, you would be able to show someone and say, well, that is the plan with what I would do with this money, and set up what I would set up so that it can run for eternity, and whatever's left over, you can do whatever you like with it. We'll donate it and make other things happen. And I think that's a very noble thing and a very wonderful thing that would help this world in so many different ways. But it does present a few problems.
Suddenly, all these people holding dinar and Zim bonds are gatrillionaires. They're all going to fly their own 747. They're all buying a 50,000-acre ranch. They all have a plan. The plan was you have to have some kind of a charitable operation, and 90% of the money has to go save babies, help veterans, feed the population. They all have great stuff. You race to the bank at the appointed hour when somebody, gives the magic go code. And then if you get there in time, you're somehow going to be able to get monetized your thing. If all your paperwork's correct, you're going to get deposits in your account, and you're going to be able to go out and do that. The reality is, if you suddenly flood the market with all of this digital currency at the same time over a period of a day or two, now supply and demand, the price of a 747 go from 50 million to 5 billion. Why? Because there's only so many 747s. And then even if you get your 747, what's the cost to maintain it?
Yeah, cost of maintaining a 747 is pretty high after all. And I guess he has a point. If we're all rich, who's going to do shit? I still think and believe that if we were all rich and and some of us still had businesses, the effect of being really rich would wear off after a while. You'd take your holiday, you'd buy your speed, your flash race cars and whatever else you needed, be comfortable. It might take a while, but eventually I think a lot of those businesses would reopen because they're needed, they're required for whatever purpose. Although there would be a lull, it wouldn't be good. So a lot of people will have, and I know many who have been depending and put a great deal of faith into this great influx of wealth and abundance that's coming their way. One has some interesting closing
And
thoughts
if
on all
everybody's got all
that.
this money being thrown at them, who's going to be around to want to work to maintain it? It's not realistic in the way the world actually works. So what happens is you got conned.
Yeah. He has a way with words, doesn't he, Juan? I guess it remains to be seen. We do see many strange, weird, and wonderful things happening in the world at the moment, particularly in the financial markets, the dollar up, the dollar down. And Juan, if nothing else, is very involved in what's going on in those financial markets. But then again, so was Charlie, I thought. Charlie Ward was supposedly heavily involved in all of this as well. And I'm not completely sure, but I don't think that Charlie and Juan get along too well, much less have spoken in any way, shape, or form. They do seem to be singing from opposite ends of what appears to be a similar story. And even as late as today, I've seen other people coming out, particularly pushing the white hat side of things, explaining that all this is coming, all this abundance is coming our way. I do note that they haven't said there is a huge amount of cash coming your way. And if there was, how would they get it into your account? I guess you could get some of those trillions that have been printed, as he said, and been sitting on pallets for God knows how long. But by far the easiest way to get you to accept digital currency is to say, we're going to pay you in digital currency. We're not going to print up $1 trillion for you. We will pay you in digital currency. Accept it or don't. What would you do? Coercion at every step. And I think it's coming from all sides. Seems to be the way we're being forced forward. And, of course, there is AI, which will wind up controlling it all. And there is now no doubt, you might recall Bill Gates was running around America basically for the last 10 years buying up prime farming land, dairy land, wheat land, really good prime farming land. And now is building data centers on those farms. In Alabama, I want to say, they are taking over people's houses compulsorily, taking over their farms and properties compulsorily, kicking them out, paying them what they supposedly say is fair money for these properties, and bulldozing the lot of them. How long before that's happening here? Or is it already happening here? God knows. We know it's happening where they're putting up these bloody windmills. They're blowing the tops off mountains and putting 70, 80, 100-metre wide roads through virgin bushland so that they can access the top of the hill and blow the top of it to pour 300 tons of concrete as a base and start erecting some pissweak machine that, if what Victorians have been posting all weekend is evidence enough, when a strong wind blows, those machines do not function. They are locked down. And in fact, I think Trevor today, Trevor the Prepper, Trevor Andre, who is the prospective One Nation candidate for Ripon, I just want to point that out, pointed out one in his area today had one of its wings, whatever you call it, fan blades blown off. So it wasn't working because that would create a severe imbalance. But in windy times, no, they're not working at all. Apparently, if the wind is over 10 knots, the brakes go on these machines. It's too dangerous for them to operate in strong winds. It is beyond mortifying, just beyond mortifying. And the only way that this sort of stupidity ever gets built in our backyard is through inept, corrupt, bureaucratic manipulation. And small, weak-minded individuals who are very good at standing up in public and saying, I'm going to work for you, where in effect they go to work for somebody completely differently when they get into that place in Canberra. Now, I'm sure they start out wanting to do the right thing, but they are left in no doubt very shortly after getting in there that, no, you're going to do it this way. And if you don't, you'll get nothing. See, the coercion inside Canberra, inside Parliament House, is just as bad as it is outside for things like this. You feeling coerced into filling in the census? You've certainly been threatened by it, because those of you that don't fill in the census will face a $364 fine per day that you do not fill it in. Now, you're not going to face that from tomorrow immediately, but when they realise that you haven't got your census number, when they realise that, you know, they have a name and they don't have a census number for that name, and they'll have my name somewhere, you know, they'll be cross-referencing this with current registrations or car regos or something, right? They'll be or probably the electoral roll. I don't know that I'm on it. Don't think I am. So they'll have some way of cross-referencing it. They'll find me eventually. Now, I have seen a post, I think Darren Bergwerf put it up, stating that a search indicates that the ABS has not prosecuted anybody for not filling in the census ever. I would say that's a bloody good thing. Are you prepared to rely on that? Because the fine previously for not filling in the census was $100, I think. Not even that much. But now they changed that as of the 1st of July this year and made it $364 per day. That then makes it a legal feast to go after, particularly for people who don't want to fill it in. Yep, fear, fear, fear. You're 100% right. It's coercion. You will find on the Voice of Freedom website, vofhq.com, a letter that you can send to the Australian statistician, and an email address where you can send it to them, along with any other concerns you might have. But it's up to you whether or not you decide you want to partake in the Great Australian Count. If you are going to be involved in it, it does say you must put in factual information. I don't know how they would know that any information you put in wasn't factual. I know I'll be identifying as Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander, so because I am an Indigenous person to this land. So that may or may not work out in our favour, we'll see. But at least I'll be a Christian. Oh, it's starting to get too difficult. Maybe I just won't bother. At any rate, the decision is yours, dear friends, and I trust you will make those whatever decisions wisely and with the consequences in mind. Have yourself a bloody good night. If you feel the urge, a false evidence appearing real. Thank you very much, Tony. Yep, feeling real. If you feel the urge, you can check out our merch at vofhq.com or merch.vofhq.com. I can tell you that this, which we put up earlier tonight, when our politicians make their political decisions based on who's giving them the most money, we don't have a political system, we have an auction, will be available on a mug at merch.vofhq.com in the not too distant future. Vince, I think, will be going to bed and having a good sleep tonight, but we might see him during the day tomorrow, in which case some of those talents, if he's not busy doing other stuff, may get put to work, and we'll see that up there. If not, I think he's already put another one up there. There is maybe one or two new cups, I'm not sure. Go and check it out at merch.vofhq.com/shop. And if you'd like to help us out by buying a bit of it, that'd be great. Or if you just want to make a donation, you can go and check out vofhq.com and hit the donation button there. You want that on a shirt, Clayton? Well, I reckon we can probably put that on a black shirt as well. Vince is the artistic designer in all these things, but he's needing a little bit of sleep at the moment, so we'll let him get some of that, and we will figure it out. Have absolutely no problems with that. Do I have anything else to share with you before I go? No, I guess it's just time to say be careful on the roads. The dickheads are out there, and somehow They always seem to find one of us. Be safe, folks.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!